this whole series has been phenomenal. We've had some amazing conversations. We've revealed some amazing information, amazing insight. We have expressed our passion and love for water as a whole, for the love of this invaluable, priceless source of water that Brian has re- preserved, resurrected, and that we together have all just been breathing life into and keeping this thing going as a passion project, even though it's not paying any of our bills. But we want to talk a little bit now about this. I don't want to say it's a new trend, but it's a trend that's been around for a while, but it's something that's starting to gain a lot of momentum and recognition, mostly because of a person named Martin Rees. He's a German water sommelier. He's right now definitely the most famous in the world, but probably the guy at the forefront between him and Michael Masha of finewaters.com, who have been big advocates and supporters of Tourmaline Spring and Summit Spring the whole time. And Martin is a really, really interesting guy because you can type his name in, I'll tag him and all this, I'm sure he'll comment on it. But if you read, there's just article after video. He's been interviewed by everybody from National Geographic to the smallest media outlets there are. But he was born, I guess, with the ability to taste these subtle distinctions that are in water that have given him the power to be an authority and a spokesperson for the different types of water, the different tastes of water, and how these waters, between him and Michael Masha, how all these different waters compare with foods, much like wine. It's very similar to like a wine sommelier or any kind of a connoisseur of a substance or element or product or something like that. So we want to get into a little bit about them because, again, they've been major advocates and supporters of us. But what are some of the things that Martin Rees has said about our water and what we've done?
Well, they get it. The two of them, they understand. They have from the beginning. They understand what natural springs are. They're experts, and it's nice to talk to somebody that understands. Instead of trying to convince somebody, they understand, and they've gone way out of their way to promote us as often as they possibly can. I mean, Tourmaline Spring with Martin Rees is mentioned as one of the premier waters of the United States. Against the world. So
yeah.
Yeah, don't take our word for it. Take the experts' word for it as well. They understand. We're not telling you anything they don't agree with.
Exactly. And you want to talk about people who know water, from a very, like, their entire life is this. It's interesting because there's so many different layers and levels to water, as we've been covering in this whole series, and so many different perspectives based on, a hydrogeologist is going to have a different perspective than a water chemist. A water sommelier is going to have a much different perspective of water than a health connoisseur. And all these different perspectives are valid and important and very interesting to cover. The one thing I love about Martin Rees is he's fearless. I've seen this guy take so many punches from so many trolls online, and he just does it with such confidence. Even to the degree, another thing I love that he does is he will literally tag and call out companies that are not in integrity, that are not in alignment. I mean, the biggest ones out there, he'll literally tag them in his social media posts and call them right out on it and say, you guys are selling filtered tap water, and you're labeling it as whatever you're labeling it as. Come on, I love that. To me, that's like, because, some people might not agree with such a confrontational approach to water, but what it does, it's like in confrontation, and it's in inciting this kind of stuff that awareness gets generated, that education gets produced, and that it becomes something that people pay a lot more attention to, you
Our
know?
biggest problem, is constantly is water's water, right? People just think water's water. That's our biggest problem. Nothing could be further from the truth. And it takes an expert like them to go, no, 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 no. Water is not water. But the vast majority of Americans don't think twice about, I love the conspiracy theories about the government is seeding the air with chemicals and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, why wouldn't they just like do something crazy like put it in your water and have you drink it and you don't think anything about it? What conspiracy? They tell you it's in there and you drink it anyway.
Yeah.
They're
Oh, wait a
putting
minute. They are.
they're not hiding it. What conspiracy theory? It's in plain view. They're putting all this crap in your water and you drink it every day and you don't even question it. I mean, it kills me. All right. Fluoride is just horrendous. There's so much written about fluoride and what it does, and it goes back to Hitler. And I mean, it's incredible. Why would you put this stuff in water? I always said, what's next? Is it, it's good for your teeth. Okay, great. So what's next? We put like Pantene in the water because it's good for my hair. I don't have to shampoo my hair. I'll just drink Pantene. I mean, this is like nuts. The real scientific incidence of dental caries around the world, it doesn't bear out any of this nonsense,
I love
it. It's the old water versus water nonsense. And these sommeliers and experts help point out that is not true, not even remotely true. That's why there's all these different categories: tap water, municipal water, well water, artesian well water, natural spring water, groundwater, they all have different categories.
I love it. It's so imperative to understand because, by the way, for everybody listening, there's a hashtag that you can use. It works really well on Instagram, but on Facebook as well. And it's hashtag water is not just water. And it's good if you want to type that in and look it up. You can see a lot of the companies and, the advocates and environmentalists and people who are realizing that water is just not water. Like, water is not water. I mean, there is everything from the most polluted, toxic water that will kill you on the spot to waters that are world renowned in their potential healing effects, like Lourdes in France. Like, water is not just water, people. Water is the most misunderstood, most important topic of our time.
Analogous substance.
It's right? So analogous.
Defies classification, and I can see renowned sources, historic sources like Lourdes or other places like Saratoga Springs, these places that have centuries old history of people swearing by them, and they have credibility. They got street cred, right?
Yeah.
But why would somebody like a Kangen machine? How did human beings survive before Kangen machines? Why would you swear by some machine like that's the only way we can have a good life is to zap the water with all kinds of electricity? And I just don't get it. When there's beautiful natural sources.
Yeah.
If that's true, I always say to people, if that's true, if you think man's machinery trumps Mother Nature, okay, I get it. TV dinners for everybody. No more home gardening, right? No more grow your own food. That's all bullshit. No, that's nonsense, right?
Yeah.
We're all going to just buy TV dinners because that man's machinery and the stuff they irradiate everything with, that's much better for us. Of course, that's crazy. So why would people advocate zapping your water and treating your water when you don't advocate the same thing for food? You want organic, natural food. Why don't you want organic, natural water? We would call this organic Tourmaline Spring, but we're forbidden by law. Otherwise, we'd call it organic because it is organic. But the government forbids water and salt from being classified as organic because they don't want food producers to boost the quantity of the organic, the makeup of it by counting the weight of the water and the salt. So it's a 10,000. I checked into it. Trust me. My lawyer joked, $10,000 fine. We can't do it. Otherwise, we'd call this organic water because it is organic.
It's more organic than organic, really. I mean, it's the most organic thing there is. And here's the sad thing about what you just said is that all these organic food producers out there are using agriculture. Okay. And I've been saying for a while, your organic food is only as organic as the tap water that it's grown with. So nobody oversees this. Nobody looks at this.
The testing agencies that oversee to make sure nobody's cheating.
Yeah. But I'm saying so let's say a big quote unquote certified organic agriculture producer in California that is taking their finished product and then selling it to one of the companies in the natural foods industry who then is making some other kind of, good, healthy product with it. Even there, because water and salt are declassified or unable to be classified or as organic, then the food is not ultimately tested for whatever was in that water. To me, that's sad. To me, that's something that is like, why?
And there's some producers that are using groundwater, but there's a lot of producers out west that are using the Colorado River and surface waters and all the contaminants that are in surface waters. So there's definitely a difference in quality there. People aren't using natural spring water to grow crops. It's too valuable and too rare.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. So that's the thing. Like whatever water is being used to grow these organic foods, what is that water? Where does it come from? And you know what? One thing that can be guaranteed is that the water and its chemical makeup and whatever is or isn't in it is going to be different at every single organic farm there is. It's just going to be different.
What are the numbers? I read somewhere that almost 90% of Americans get their water from a municipal supply, and almost 90% of those or more are all chlorinated and treated and fluoridated. I mean, so there's a host of chemicals in there. The disinfection byproducts that result from chlorination, its contact with organic materials, that's as bad as anything in there. If people would research the Flint, Michigan issue, for example, if you think water is water, there was nothing wrong with either source, not the river and not the lake. Neither source of water was a problem. The problem was the infrastructure. And it's throughout America. It's the infrastructure, stupid. This stuff was built when Lincoln was president, and there's lead in these pipes.
Millions of lead
they
pipes.
Made in Flint there was a dramatic difference in the pH of the water in the river versus the pH of the water in the lake. And what they didn't do was they didn't put enough anti-corrosives, lye. They didn't adjust the pH enough so that it wouldn't attack the pipes. Like every other municipality in the country, they add anti-corrosives and lye to change the pH so that the water won't attack the pipe. They can't let that happen because water that's low in TDS or water that's acidic is aggressive in some regards. So it started attacking the pipes, and it released the lead in the pipes into the water. And then guess what the perfect mechanism for delivery of medicine or contaminants is? Water. So all these children, all these adults got this lead delivered to them in the perfect form. And once that process starts, it's irreversible. You can't stop the pipes from leaching anymore. They tried to recreate the biofilm, the protective biofilm that forms in there. They couldn't do it. They have to replace all the pipes. So this, but people think, well, the river water was bad, or no, neither source of water was bad. Either one could be acceptable. It was a dramatic change in the pH that caused the leaching and the breakdown of the biofilm and the leaching of the lead in the pipes. And this problem is not unique to Flint. This problem is ubiquitous in America. It's in Newark. It's in everywhere. These infrastructures underground, this piping is a real and present danger. And we're going to continue to have more and more problems with pipes. And the issue, water is tested at the municipality. It is not tested in your home.
Yes.
That's up to you to do if you do it at all. And the reason that municipalities put chlorine in there instead of using ozonation or some other better purification techniques that don't leave residual is because they have to leave residual because of the piping, because of the infrastructure. If they sent perfectly pure water from the municipality, by the time it got to your house, it'd be poisoned because of all the contaminants that get in these pipes. So they have to leave a killing residual in the pipes all the way to your home to protect against the infrastructure. And that's why chlorine is used, because it continues to keep killing, but it also continues to release disinfection byproducts. And that's where you have all this chemicals in there, the anti-corrosive. The real problem is the infrastructure.
I'm really glad you said that, because that's what he just said is a very important point for everybody listening, in that whatever a municipality is doing to their water and whatever tests they're posting publicly, that's still not the water that you're getting when you turn on your faucet. Because like he said, and we mentioned earlier too, water is the universal solvent. Whatever substrate or carrier that it is traveling through, it is imbued with the properties of that substrate. So if that substrate is lead, if it's some old rusty metal, if it's some highly porous, soft, absorbable plastic, it's
Iron
going to
pipe.
Iron, all the list goes on and on, right? Whatever that is, that water is going to bring that right into your tap. And the water that you shower with, when you're in a hot shower, your pores are all opened up, you're absorbing water into your body. That water is not being tested. And the test results, not everywhere, but probably in most places, the municipality test and the test that somebody's going to get at their home, if they were to test it, are going to reflect two very different tests, even though it's the same water, just because of the infrastructure. And look, the American Civil Union of Engineers, or something they're called, rated the United States tap water infrastructure. They graded it with a D. Okay, and they were probably being liberal.
It wasn't even D minus, I thought.
It might have been. It was like, it was the lowest grade without it being an F. They probably would have given it an F, but that would just, then it creates hysteria, it creates pandemonium. So this is serious.
If you source your water from a municipality where you live, you absolutely need a filter on your shower head. It's just like Seth said, chlorine and fluoride vaporize at room temperature. So you are breathing atomized, aerosolized chlorine and fluoride. And they estimate you can actually get more chlorine exposure from transdermal absorption and breathing the chlorine vapors than you do from actually drinking chlorinated water. So think about what you're doing to yourself every day of your life. You're breathing chlorinated water and showering in it and absorbing it every day of your life, sometimes multiple times a day if you shower. So it's critical. We always say the water that you actually drink should be the purest natural spring water you can get your hands on, because you're bombarded with all these chemicals everywhere else. You're cooking with it. The food is absorbing this stuff. And we have a lot of customers that cook with our water because their tap water is so bad they can't even, with potatoes and rice and other foods that absorb, they can't do it because they absorb too much of the chemical contaminants.
And look, this segues back into why we love these water sommeliers and this whole movement that they're creating, because essentially what they're doing is they are bringing the much needed and overdue passion that each of us and all of us collectively as a species should have for water and water quality, because water is not just water. And if we don't take a sincere interest in the water that we're drinking, that we're bathing in, that we're cooking in, that our food's grown in, then we are ignoring literally the second most fundamental component of our very own existence. So these guys, and please go to their websites, like them on Instagram and Facebook, follow all their stuff, and get engaged, get involved in the commentary and the question, ask questions, just really get involved and bring passion to it. Get passionate about water. Learn to love water, because here's the thing: we need to really start putting value where value is deserved. And water is so undervalued. And until we start truly valuing water for the miraculous element that it is, then we're never going to really truly be able to address our personal health and the health of this planet. So anybody like these guys out there, anybody who is out there on the front lines pushing for greater education around water, for understanding water from a health perspective, understanding water from a conservationist perspective, primary water, that's a whole other thing we can get into. All these people who are looking at water from, I don't want to use the word non-biased, but just from a rational perspective, because that's really actually all we're trying to achieve here. We are so diluted. It's like we're so polluted. Our internal water systems of our being are so polluted with all these thoughts and beliefs and disinformation of things that we've been fed, this propaganda, that we have lost the very common sense element that allows us to really harmonize with the water in our bodies and the water we put in our body. And it prevents us from seeking water that has true value, like Summit Spring.
I just read the other day that we're going to run out of fresh water on this earth long before we ever run out of fossil fuels. Remember, we were so worried about fossil fuels. Remember in the 70s when they were rationing fuel at the gas stations on odd and even days? We're running out of fossil fuels. They're finding fossil fuel it's everywhere. But we're running out of water at a much quicker pace. Trying to find fresh water, untainted, unpolluted water is becoming incredibly difficult.
You know the stats, right? They say, like, because obviously the planet, it's a water planet. There's the oceans, the lakes, rivers, streams. How much of that is actually potable? Most of it's locked in the icebergs, but I've seen a statistic
I remember those
before.
numbers. Yeah, it's a very I think it's 1%. I think it's 1% or something of all the water on Earth is actually accessible and drinkable. The vast majority is either salt water or locked in the ice cap north and south. That the amount of water available for all of humanity to live off of is a very small percentage. I forget the number now, but most of the fresh water is locked up, frozen.
Here's the thing. If people start valuing water, everything to do with water, it only needs to start with you valuing the type of water you put in your body. If you just start with that, the more that people start to value water like that, the more in tune they're going to become with nature. Okay? And the more in tune you get with nature, the more you strive to live your life in a way where you think about, okay, how can I live my life so that I'm consuming less of the things that I don't really need? And what kind of solutions can I contribute so that I'm creating a better, more healthy, natural world that the future generations are going to inherit?
Look at these kids in Flint, right? There is no safe level for lead. None. This damage that has been done to these children is permitted and progressive. They will need assistance their entire lives because of that poison that they drank, and it's irreversible. There's nothing can be done at this point. The damage is done, and so think about the damage of other things, chlorine and fluoride, all these other things we don't even think about. If you want to think about health and wellness, you have to focus on water and the cleansing aspects of water. You're ignoring the most critical part, the building block of your health and wellness, if you don't think about the water.
Look, I just got to do a quick pause here because I want people to see, all right? Because you don't see much of Brian on there. You just see his shirt because he's closer to the camera. But show them. You got to show what health and wellness looks like. This guy, okay, he's in his 60s. He looks big. You can't really see his figure. He is all muscle, okay? He is 61 years old, right? 61? Is that, sorry if you don't mind me saying your age. This guy is so active, okay? I mean,
not the years, it's the mileage that counts, and I'm low mileage.
That's exactly it. Look, when you drink water, okay, water is so important. When you are fully hydrated, because that's the one thing that Brian and I are very adamant about. We are so blessed to have access to this. I mean, I drink at least a gallon, sometimes a gallon and a half every single day. You know, this guy drinks it right out of the source. We hydrate. When your body is just so fully hydrated, it almost doesn't matter what age you are, because whatever symptoms or afflictions or anything that have accumulated throughout the duration of your life that are a result of dehydration, suddenly you're getting more energy in the form of water that starts to trickle in and have a beneficial effect on your well-being. Okay, again,
think of this. Here's a good thing for you. Think of this. I love this. When you drink water, or when you drink any liquid that contains water, it is absorbed into your bloodstream, all of it, right? We do not pass water, right? The colon's final job is to remove all remaining water from your stool so that you have solid stool, because diarrhea can kill you, right? Diarrhea will dehydrate you. You can't, we need the water. You don't want to pass on water. You take the nutrients from the food and you absorb all the water. But all that water goes into your bloodstream and must be filtered from your lymphatic system and your liver and your kidneys and then excreted. So everything that's in the water you drink, this goes back to the old days when you were a kid. Do you get drunk faster if you drink a mixed drink or if you drink straight alcohol? And your body recognizes straight alcohol as a poison and tries to avoid it. If you drink a mixed drink with either soda or water or anything, your body sees that and grabs it, and it takes the alcohol with it. And you actually get inebriated quicker with a mixed drink. It just goes to show you, if you're drinking water with contaminants, it isn't going through you, it's going into your body. All your bloodstream.
Like mind blowing that people like this is so important to get it, like, and you know, and it ties into homeopathy too, because there's so many, aside from just like the flesh, blood, and bones that most people think they are, we all have very intricate systems that are at work in our bodies that are way more intelligent than we are. And if we are not feeding these systems with the proper hydration, and another thing Veda and I are going to get into in our other podcasts, and even Brian and I will talk about this stuff in the future too. There's so much more to this. These elements of water with structure, with the mineral content structure properly in it. This is so important to how it's going to affect your entire being. The point I was going to make is this, is that all these complex systems in our bodies that are way more intelligent than we are need certain types of fuel to affect them in a certain way, like our whole bioelectric system. Okay, and this is the whole thing of homeopathy, which people can, if you look and research, homeopathy has been proven beyond a doubt that it works. Water very much has, tap water especially, as it's being filtered through all this infrastructure, as it's just whatever substrate it's exposed to, is very much working in a homeopathic fashion. So you're not just getting the toxins and everything that's in the water and having it filtered into your body, but you're getting the signals of whatever those elements are that are signaling the more subtle aspects of how these complex systems in your bodies work. This is important, very, very important stuff to understand if you are striving to become the best version of yourself, or if you just want to feel better, if you just want to get healthier. Looking at water from this homeopathic perspective, from this natural purity perspective, natural purity versus man-made purity. I mean, look, common sense is no longer so common, but let's make it common again, and let's do it through passion.
I always get frustrated. It's like, don't blame yourself if you don't think much about water, because most of the doctors don't. Right, the number of doctors, the number of regular MDs in hospitals that are serving to sick patients just garbage water and have no comprehension. It's like a hospital is not a place of wellness; it's a place of sickness. And in their defense, MD training is never really about wellness much. They're only starting to give these doctors more naturopathic exposure because of the DOs and all that. They never really got, it was either Medicaid or cut. It's amazing that all these institutions that are supposed to get you healthy don't even address water. There's so few of them. It takes a naturopathic or a homeopathic or like Curpalo or places like that to understand water's importance to get to the bottom of it. Because the places you think would know.
Yeah.
What do they tell you to do, though? What are the first thing they tell you to do when you get sick? What is the first thing they always tell you to do? Drink plenty of water.
Yeah,
Make sure you drink plenty of water, right? Why?
I was going to say take pills.
Well, no, they usually say drink.
No, you're absolutely right. Yes.
Drink plenty of water. Drink water, drink plenty of water, water. They don't ever specify, but because it purifies you, it cleanses you, it removes toxins. So they want you drinking. They know that dehydration, it can be a sub-cause, a comorbid, everything, right?
Yeah.
So they want you to drink more water. It's just they don't focus on the quality of the water. We've just taken it, and neither do most Americans. And we just take for granted that it's safe to drink, and
Yeah.
In the short term, it's all probably very safe to drink compared to other places in the world. But what are the long-term effects of a lifetime of consuming chemicals like chlorine and fluoride and on and on and on?
Yes.
It has to be detrimental. It has to be. Do you think that the air I breathe here in Maine, and I'm in a couple hundred acres of land, I always live amongst nature. There's 100,000 trees out here right now, and me, and nobody else. Do you think filtered air from New York is better than the air I'm breathing right here? I don't think so. There ain't a snowball's chance in hell, right? These remote areas like this, the purity of the air is incredible.
Excellent analogy. I love that. I've never thought of that before. That's perfect.
I mean, how is it not? You're going to tell me your filtered air from an apartment in New York City with all the fumes coming up and all is better than this air here? You'll never make that argument stick ever.
So you hear that, people? So applying that to water, that same analogy that he just made, think about that in conjunction with your water. My God. Wow.
I mean, they always brag about New York has good water. Well, it does have good water. You know why New York City has good water? Because they were smart enough a long time ago to steal all the water from the Adirondacks. Right? All the water from New York City comes from the Adirondacks, upstate New York. They knew what was happening. Yeah, so they do start with pretty good water. It's surface water, requires treatment, but it's pretty good water. But you still have the same infrastructure problem, right? A lot of those pipes are made out of wood under the city. But a lot of cities didn't see this coming. And look at the water issues in Vegas. like I said on TV that time, Las Vegas would not exist without the water they take from the Colorado River. It would not, that city will go away if they don't take, if the Colorado runs dry, there's a lot of cities that are done.
My God.
There's no other water around, you know? The Colorado was one of the only rivers in the world that never reaches the ocean. We take all of it. By the time it gets to Mexico, there's nothing left. You know?
Just shows how much people take water for granted, right? They just know, like it's nothing. Oh, water's just water. No recognition that your entire body is constructed of water, that it's the most essential element for the survival of all life next to sunlight. Learn to love water. I mean, we really got to bring that level of interest into it.
We're blessed here in Maine because Maine is a geologic water making machine, mostly because of the White Mountains, the typical jet stream flow from west to east, orographic lifting over the mountains. The air rises and cools, vapor forms and falls as rain or snow onto Maine. But not only that, Maine is like one big aquifer because the glacial activity that was here and just it ripped all the mountaintops off way back. Twice in its history, Maine has been covered by glaciers a mile thick and then receded and came again. But it deposited all these sand and gravel deposits in these rivers and lake beds. So it's like one huge aquifer. So not only do we make a lot of water here, we store a lot of water. And that's why this is the land of water. It's just a situation, a congruence of good events that happens to be. And that's why people think of Maine when they think of phenomenal water. They don't think of Georgia or Ohio. You know, Maine is to water as Saudi Arabia is to oil, right?
I am going to passionately and shamelessly plug our companies because they deserve it. People need to know about this water. They need to try this water. They need to become part of the already well-established small customer base that we have and find out what they know and find out why they keep reordering from us. You've had customers for the entire time you've owned the business.
And before. I've had customers that were with the woman before me that have been customers for 40 years. We've had customers that had children had allergies on inhalers that they drink our water, they stop. They don't need them anymore. We will change your life. We will improve your life. Guaranteed. Just try it for a week or so and try to go back to something else.
So please go to the website, tourmalinespring.com. We sell water on there. You want to order pallets of water. We have lots of families and people around the country who will order by the pallet. So that way, like 3 or 4 families will chip in together. They'll pay for the pallet. Then you can get water for a lot cheaper. Email us. Go to the website, email us, contact us. Let us get this water to you. It is the best investment in your health and in your wellness that you can ever make. And again, I just want to say, like, at a time when people are so disconnected from nature, there is not a better product you can buy anywhere on the market that will help you get in touch with your own inner nature, because you are literally taking the naturally purest essence of our planet that is being offered, as far as we know, anywhere on the planet, and putting it into your body. Okay, this is such a profound and direct way to connect with nature and your own inner nature. And again, the marketing is to tell the truth of what the actual product is. So again, go to the website, go to our Instagram pages, check everything out, look at it, research it, read the blog articles. Brian and I are going to be putting out all kinds of information. I'm doing another podcast.
Send questions, we'll answer them.
Yes, like get involved, but try it, buy it, and try it. That's all we can say. Buy it and try it, and you will know why Those who, you'll know why we have so many repeat customers who are so grateful to know that we exist. So thank you, everybody, for allowing us to share this information with you, and there's going to be lots more to come.